Hey guys, Jonathan here with TLD. Hope you guys are doing well. I am back with a comparison of the new iPad mini with Retina Display against the first generation non-Retina iPad mini. The iPad mini with that Retina display also brings a beefier, heftier price tag of $399 as opposed to the original $330 on the first generation iPad mini launch. Now the Retina iPad mini does also sport the exact same A7 chip found in the full-size iPad Air, so the differences between those two are now closer than ever, and I guess the price tag now reflects that. Now as far as the looks and colors go, we now see space gray as opposed to the slate on the original iPad mini, although Apple is still currently selling those with the updated colors, but I honestly couldn't recommend those to you. If the Retina iPad mini is too rich for your blood, I would probably look towards the 2013 Nexus 7. The actual dimensions are pretty much the same aside from the actual width. The iPad mini with Retina display sizes in at 7.5 millimeters, which is exactly the same as the iPad Air, as opposed to the 7.2 millimeters on the first generation iPad mini. The Retina iPad mini is also slightly heavier at 331 grams as opposed to the 308 grams on the first generation iPad mini, and you do tack on some weight to both of those if you go the 4G LTE route. Now the cameras are pretty much identical on both of these models. You have a 5 megapixel shooter on both that shoot 1080p video. The aperture is exactly the same. You have a front-facing 1.2 megapixel shooter on the front that shoots 720p video, so there is really no difference there. There is also no Wi-Fi advantage on the new Retina iPad mini, so there's no 802.11 AC. You got A, B, G, and N at 2.4 and 5 gigahertz on both models. Really, the main difference is going to be the display, which is now Retina 2048 by 1536 as opposed to 1024 by 768, and I really can't express how much of a difference that makes through video. What I can do is show you some screenshots on the Retina iPad mini compared to the non-Retina iPad mini. Hopefully you can tell difference here. Personally, it is a huge difference to me. What I would suggest is actually I will post these full resolution linked down below so you guys can check them out and see the difference for yourselves. And even better than that, if you can actually go into the store and look at them side by side, that will really show you the difference between the two. The Retina display is absolutely beautiful. We now have 321 pixels per inch packed in a 7.9 inch display as opposed to the 163 previously on the first generation iPad mini. Now the other huge difference is the actual processor. The Retina iPad mini features the super fast, super speedy 64-bit A7 chip, which is clocked at 1.3 gigahertz with 1 gig of RAM, whereas the first generation iPad mini features an A5 chip, which is clocked at 1 gigahertz and features 512 megs of RAM. Both of these are dual core, but you will see a huge difference between the two. First up in my test is Geekbench 3, and I usually like to combine synthetic tests with actual real-world tests to kind of give you guys the whole picture of the performance. But regardless, the iPad mini with Retina for single core scored 1391, whereas the iPad mini single core score was 262, so huge difference there. Same exact thing with the multi-core score, 2523 on the Retina iPad mini, 496 on the original iPad mini, huge difference. Now as far as gaming goes, in GFX Bench 2.7, the T-Rex HD benchmark, this was on screen. The iPad mini with Retina pumped out 21 frames per second, whereas the iPad mini pumped out a measly 6.4 frames per second. I went ahead and did one more GFX Bench. This was 2.5, the Egypt HD on-screen test. The iPad mini with Retina pumped out 49 frames per second, whereas the original iPad mini was 22 frames per second. So again, a huge difference there. So these last two tests are going to translate directly into gaming performance. It's going to be much more powerful and smoother on the Retina iPad mini, along with that better looking screen. But what do these numbers actually mean? Sure, they're impressive, but let's go ahead and find out how that actually might benefit you in real world everyday use. We're going to launch a couple applications, export a movie through iMovie, and hopefully you should be able to see the difference between the two. Now before I do anything, let me show you that there are no applications currently running. We are completely empty on both, and we're going to first start off with Riptide Gp2. On the count of 3, we will launch it. 1, 2, and 3. So you can see the Retina iPad mini will launch it much faster. And we are loaded and ready to go, but the original iPad is still loading and playing catch up. It is finally done, and you can see there is a pretty significant difference there. So let's go ahead and close on out of this and move on to the next test, which is launching Cordy 2. So same thing, 1, 2, and 3. Off to the quicker start on the Retina iPad mini, and it is all loaded up and ready to go. And once again, there's a pretty big difference in terms of game app loading between these two models. So we'll go ahead and jump over out of this. And next up, we're going to do an actual iMovie Export, and this is really going to showcase the actual power of the A7 chip. So we'll go to launch open iMovie, and what I did was take the example footage from my iPad mini unboxing, which if you did miss, by the way, I'll have that annotated up here and also linked down below just in case you missed that. It's a comparison between both space gray and silver models, so definitely check that out. So real quick for an example, let's see if we can play them at the exact same time. And I will note, editing and looking at video on the Retina iPad mini is much more enjoyable, as it should be. It's crisper, it's brighter, it's more vibrant, whereas this is a little kind of muddy and muffled in contrast. So let's go ahead and pause these. Go ahead and pause, dang it. We're gonna head back to the project folder, like so. And we're gonna go to the share tab. Next, we're gonna wanna go to save video. And lastly, we're gonna select HD 1080p, and this is really gonna showcase the power of the A7 chip over the A5. So we're gonna get my hand out of the way. You can see the A7 processor is really kind of chugging along, whereas the first generation iPad mini, that is kind of struggling to catch up. We're nearly halfway on the Retina iPad mini, whereas the first generation iPad mini still isn't even to the halfway point yet. So if you actually use your iPad to create content as well as consume it, you may want to consider the Retina iPad mini, because you can see in terms of exporting video, it is much faster on that regard. So we're already completely done. We're still waiting for the A5 equipped iPad mini original first generation to catch up, and we are still not even there. So we need some Jeopardy music or something, because you can see exactly how much faster the new iPad mini with Retina Display is over the first generation. And we are finally just about done. Come on. Copying to camera roll. And we are finally done. So huge difference there. Lastly, in one more creation example, we got Oreo, which is a music recording program. This is going to show us two things. So as I load it, you'll see the Retina A7 iPad mini does load it much faster. So we're pretty much ready to go. And let me go ahead and switch over to the actual multi-track tab so you can see what's going on. All these are tracks going on. So we'll go ahead and play it. And as I switch back, so you can see we got different instruments, kick, snare, hi-hat. So you can do a lot on these iPads. But if we head back to the mixer tab, you'll notice that the CPU usage on the first generation iPad mini is right around 52 to 55%, whereas the A7 equipped iPad mini with Retina Display is right around 22, 24, and in this case it's at 21%. So we got a lot more headroom on this model, and I'll take a screenshot so you can see that up close. So as far as what all this means, in this instance you're able to record more tracks, have more elements to your song, get more production done. We saw you can export video faster, it's going to play games better with faster frame rates, and of course we do have the beautiful 2048 by 1536 Retina display. So overall, this is a pretty solid offering from Apple. I don't know if it quite justifies the price of the $399 price point. Let me know what you guys think with a comment down below if these improvements justify that bigger price tag. As always, thank you guys very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did and you are feeling like being awesome, make sure to hit that like button. It is much appreciated, and as always, I will return a virtual high five at your face. Definitely subscribe for my full iPad mini Retina review as well as iPad Air review. Those are coming very soon. Again, this is Jonathan with TLD. If you guys have any questions, definitely leave me a comment down below, or if you don't want to because everyone hates Google+, I'll have my Twitter and Facebook links down below. You guys can hit me up there. Again, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys later.